let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
Pandora, this is our home. But the humans are returning.
On December 16th,
Wherever we go,
the motion picture event
this family is our fortress.
of a generation arrives.
Dad, I'm a warrior like you.
Protect the people. Let's get it done.
Avatar, The Way of Water, rated PG-13.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Adolf, and I have with me Classic Jake.
Howdy, folks.
And John.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're reviewing a big movie, Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Alright, so obviously we're going to talk about the 3D aspect first. I wrote the review. Now, I don't want to necessarily influence y'all's opinions on it, but yeah, this was a pretty incredible 3D.
Yeah, my theater's crappy presentation, it was still awesome.
Yeah, I agree. The overall 3D, especially the stuff with the water, is just, I don't know that anything compares to it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it really is amazing, and it really is part of the movie. The cinematography and how they made the shots is just made for 3D, so it's not just one scene. It's gorgeous without, the different water scenes, like you said, the jungle scenes. I literally felt like I was in the jungle with the characters. I was underwater with the characters. How was your experience, Jake?
Wow.
I actually heard people in the audience say "wow" countless times.
People reaching out to the screen.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or jumping back, because there was one scene that got me. I actually almost leapt backwards out of my seat.
Yeah, I know exactly what spot you're talking about, because my daughter almost tore my arm off when it happened.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, the depth here is great. The 3D pop outs are constant. The fish popping out of the water. It's gorgeous, and it is a feast for the eyes. And there's some times where I thought it was really flat, but I think those are on purpose to give your eye a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And breaks. They were scenes that they just kind of relaxed the 3D, and then they would expand it later. I mean, yeah, you're right, because there's no way you could have taken this full depth. Of course, I wish sometimes they went deeper, but it's still editor's choice. We might have to make a new board just for this.
Yeah. I mean, after the second trailer, I was like, this is editor's choice. But I didn't want to write the review before I watched the whole movie. And I was like, yeah, it definitely is editor's choice. I mean,
sometimes the trailer does look better than the presentation.
and it's just beautiful. And my expectations were extremely high, and this movie even exceeded that. I even will say on record, it is inconceivable to watch Avatar: The Way of Water in 2D.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel that way about the first Avatar too, as well, or I should say as well, because I think the 3D adds so much to the experience.
John?
Cameron just does not disappoint. You could tell there's a couple times, I think, with arrows and stuff where it's kind of done to kind of pop out, but most of it is done in just ways that are immersing you into the world, and you feel like you're there. And we don't want to get into spoilers, but there's not a whole lot of humans in this movie, and you don't feel like you're watching a computer generated film, and basically that's what you're watching. And the 3D that's built into that is just tremendous. It's the best I've ever seen. It really is.
Yeah, this movie truly blends live action and animation into a whole new thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And there are parts, specifically in the middle, where it does feel like you're watching a documentary, and I don't know that that's always positive as far as a 3-hour film necessarily, but as far as the visual context of it, it's you can't compare it.
Yeah. And I never doubted the CGI here. The CGI definitely is next level, and it feels like the first one was still next level back then. And then rewatching that, a couple months ago, it still was held up pretty damn well. So, like this, I don't doubt the CGI at all. Period. And like you guys said, this is just so amazing, and I felt like this is a new standard of 3D. I feel like the bar has been raised. And for me, it's not only the best 3D of the year, it's the best 3D of the decade. And I'm going to say it. I think it's a GOAT. I think it's the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's nothing close.
It's damn good, and you better see it in 3D or you're missing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is editor's choice. And I will say this, it is the best 3D of the modern era, bar none.
But for me, this is for me, and reviewing doing reviews since 2014. This is for me the best. So
yeah, this is the best I've seen since this revival, this current run of 3D. This is hands down the absolute best. This is the GOAT of the modern era.
But yeah, this is fantastic 3D, and it really is awesome. And I guess we have to get to the movie itself. All right, so it's a hard movie to review. At least for me, it is. I don't know about y'all. So this movie has been in development for like over a decade, and is it worth the wait? I'll defend the original Avatar. I really do love that movie, and I feel like this movie is kind of like Terminator to Terminator 2, but at the same time, I also don't. I don't know. It's a satisfying sequel, but also it's in some ways better than the original. But sometimes it's still retread of the original. It's hard. Jake, what do you got to say?
Okay, to me, this is like Evil Dead to Evil Dead 2. It's a remake, but it's of the first movie, but it is far superior in almost every way.
John?
Yeah, I've been telling family members that ask me how it is. Visually, it's outstanding. As far as the story goes, if you liked the first one, I think you'll like this. You'll still be entertained. I think the first one was tighter. The script, even though I don't think the script was really good in the first one, I do think that story was a little tighter. But it is almost like a remake, and basically went from the jungle to water. And because of that, you have all this world building you're having to do, which is taking up a lot of the 3-hour runtime.
And this movie is we said this 3 hours. It's a long movie, and for as long as it is, it's also really simple of a storyline.
Yeah,
it's a storyline about revenge, and it's a storyline about capitalism, and it's basically what it was the first time, and now it's this way again. Now, this is not a standalone movie. We kind of mentioned, is it a remake or a retread, but I really feel like it develops on the first one, but it's not. I don't feel like you could go to this one without seeing the first one. I think you'll be lost.
I know people who saw this one and didn't see the first one, and there was enough explanation that they were able to follow it.
Okay.
But your mileage may vary.
I mean, he does some of it at the beginning, not a lot, but I guess given the distance of time from the first one, you almost have to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And great performances in this. It's kind of hard to even decide who was best because there were just so many good performances in this.
It is very emotional, very much emotional movie. And, John, you're the only parent here. I'm assuming that it resonated with you really well because a lot of parent stuff there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could tell you, I had my two daughters with me, and one's a teenager, one in her early 20s. They were both crying more than once in this film. And my younger daughter, the teenager, she loves the first Avatar. Just it's one of her favorite movies. So she really has an emotional connection to it. But it has an emotional bite that the first one doesn't have. Mm-hmm. And very much the first one was kind of save the trees kind of message, where this one's kind of save the water type of message to it. But there's it's not human because they're not humans, but it has that humanity and that emotional contact. And Cameron makes a decision that I knew he had to make going into it to give it some stakes. And I'm glad he did and didn't pull punches with that. But there's definitely an emotional context is there. The downside to it is the movie's so long that it's hard to keep that emotional investment the whole time. Because there's parts in the middle where it doesn't, you kind of lose some of that.
Yeah. Cameron might have been better served if he had, because this was really like almost like 2 movies.
Yes. Yep. This could have been 2 and 3, I think.
Yeah. And he could have fleshed out because ironically, I felt like there were a few things I would have liked had fleshed out more.
Yeah.
Yes.
The relationship between Spider and his I'm using air quotes here, father.
Yeah, and that I mean, when we get into spoilers, I'll ask questions there because I've got lots of questions about that.
Yeah, Let's not get into spoilers here, but there's a lot of stuff that they kind of scratch the surface of. I definitely agree. So let's kind of wrap up here because there's so much to spoil. So okay, let's go around. What's the final scores? John, what's the score you give the movie itself?
For 3D, I guess we talked about editor's choice. If we're gonna, I always want to give it a number. I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I take a little bit off because of the length. I think he did overdo the length a little bit when it wasn't needed, and there's some story stuff there. But at the end of the day, I have to rate the experience, and that does come down to some of the visuals and those things. And I left just being amazed at this movie, and I would highly recommend everybody go. So I give it an 8.
Yeah, I agree. I give it an 8 in my review, and I went back and forth between a 7, 8, 9, and editor's choice and not editor's choice. And at the end of the day, I thought it was a great movie, and I thought it was incredibly entertaining and fun. And but some stuff I wish it did better. It did more. For 3 hours, it doesn't go as deep as I would want. I prefer the first movie to this one, but I also think this is a better movie than the first one, so it's complicated. Jake, what's your score?
Yeah, we're all on the same page because 8.
Okay.
Because that's really good. They could have lost an hour, and I don't think it would have hurt. But also, I'm like going, ooh, it's tough because I really thought it was way too damn long. But damn.
Now, just for curiosity's sake, are y'all defenders of the original, or you thought the original was kind of overhyped?
I thought it was overhyped.
Okay, John.
No, I still enjoy it. I had no problem recognizing it's a simple story. I mean, most of Cameron's movies are, quite frankly, they're usually not that super complicated. But the one thing he knows how to create tension, suspense, and action, and the first one does it too. The last 20 minutes, 50 minutes of this movie, like you can't even catch your breath. It just is moving. And I think the first one has that too. It has its flaws, but I still enjoy it. I watched it last weekend in 3D at home to kind of prepare myself, and I still enjoy it.
Okay. Now, usually I don't want to compare movies, off the bat, but I feel like this one is really hard not to. So it's something that we really try to be on its own movie, but I really feel like this is not its own movie. And it's special, so we have to cover it both ways. So we're going to wrap up the spoiler-free section here, and we're going to go into the spoiler-filled section soon. Thank y'all for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right, before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Mr. Bungle 5, Kano 3D, Gravity Head Zero, Alex Folk, and Kevin Winter for your financial support on Patreon.com. You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.